So, in case you missed it, to me, Saturday was a great reminder or example of the fact that it's truly the best time of year to just sit on your couch all day on any given Saturday and watch football. At least that was my interpretation, as you not only had big upsets, but you also had very highly contested games that flat out went down to the wire, like the Tennessee-Pitt game, like many other games that happened on Saturday. So we are going to talk about the Alabama-Texas game today, and I want to start by saying this. In a couple of weeks, are we just going to forget that the number one ranked team in the country went on the road out of conference and needed a game-winning drive to beat an unranked team that had a losing record last year? By the way, that's not an indictment on Alabama. I happen to think that that was a great team win for Alabama. They grew as a team. They learned a lot about themselves. That's really an indictment on the state, nature, and narrative surrounding the sport of college football right now, in that it's a lopsided sport. The same teams make the playoff every year. How many points is Alabama going to win by this week? 30, 40, or 50? When we should really just be getting ready to watch and expect a great game to unfold on Saturday, like it did on Saturday between those two teams. So now that I've got that off my chest, I do want to dive into what happened on Saturday and why it was such a highly contested game by both of those teams. So the first thing that stood out to me was that Texas's players and coaches really had a high level of confidence going into that game. You could see it by the way Texas's players were flying around the field. You could see it by the way Texas's coaching staff, specifically Coach Sarkisian, called the game. That's my second point. I think he had a great game plan coming in. You know, at times he used an extra body or two in pass protection to let those deep routes develop down the field. He utilized Xavier Worthy's skill set by letting him run those deep routes, and he also utilized Quinn Ewers' skill set before he got injured by stretching the field. And that brings me to my other point, in that this game did take a slight turn when Quinn Ewers got injured. You know, it just became a different game. I happen to think that if Quinn Ewers stays in that game, it turns into more of a shootout. Not saying that Texas would have won. I still think that maybe either team wins that game, but it just made the game a bit of a different style. But either way, Quinn Ewers and Hudson Card played pretty well overall in that one. And then you flip it to Alabama's side, and I respect and admire the fact that Alabama is trying to be a more balanced football team this year, but at the end of the day, they had 10 points in the fourth quarter. They turned the ball over to Bryce Young and said, "You've got to go win us this game," and he was spectacular. He was great on script. He was great off script. He was a great leader for them in that game, and he was the biggest reason they came away victorious in that one. So it was such a great game. I think it was easily the best game of the year so far. It'll probably rival a couple of other games that happened last year. So if you didn't get to catch it on Saturday, I would advise that you go see some highlights of that one. So with that said, that is going to wrap it up for today's episode. Look for previews for some college football games coming up this week, like South Carolina, Georgia, maybe Penn State, Auburn, or maybe even Texas A&M, Miami is another one. So thank you for watching and stay tuned.